Hello and welcome to part 4 of Sovereign Body Language, where we will discuss your posture and the chakras a little bit, because I couldn't just leave the chakras out of the posture. Next week, we're diving deeper into the chakras, so we're going to be going a lot more precise into the chakras. Sorry, I have a hair in my mouth somehow. But today we're going to be talking about the posture, your foot position, and things like that. So you, of course, you have been in these classes a few times, so you all know already that their posture makes a big difference. When you see two people sitting next to each other or a photo of two people sitting next to each other, you can tell a lot about how their postures relate to each other. So just like whether they're leaning away from each other or towards each other, whether their shoulders are facing each other or facing away from each other. And then you can look down at their hips or their knees. Are they facing each other or away from each other? And then also the feet. The feet are very telling in which they're pointing. Often you will see some people talking and one person's feet will be pointing directly towards the exit. So you know that they don't want to be there. There's a part of them that's trying to get out of the situation. But they're being polite and everything is good, but the body language tells on them. So those are the kind of mixed messages that we can deliver when we are just doing anything, talking to people, presenting on stage. And it's very important to recognize and be aware of the different mixed messages that you have in your body, or of all the different messages that your body is sending to you. Because essentially, it's not that the person is lying to the other person, like not necessarily. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not telling the truth when they're like, oh, I want to be here, whatever. It could be just that they're not even listening to the part of themselves that doesn't want to be there. How many times do we meet people who live their lives based on other people's experience and other people's expectations when it comes to choosing their jobs, when it comes to choosing their friends, when it comes to choosing their food, when it comes to choosing where they live. They just allow their family members to make all of the decisions for them. Hey, Bridget, I'm going to drop the manual one more time into the chat so that you can get it too. Welcome. There you go. I do wish that the Zoom would allow the people to see the previous messages, but somehow it's not doing that. So why don't we start with the feet? The feet is a good place to start. I can show you a foot diagram. So the feet tell a lot about a person. The whole body tells a lot about the person. The ideal posture would be to have your spine in its natural curved position, not curved forward, not held back. I'll show you some pictures of different kind of positions, hips and things like that in a minute. But the ideal posture would be where your body and your mind are following along with each other, where your head is not pulling your body in life, whereas your power is sitting right in your pillar of light. But a lot of people in this society will have a posture like this, with their head jutting forward, and then their body, they're completely cut off. If you think about your spine as a hose, right? Any place where you're bent forward, cut off, tipped, cocked hips, or anything like that, that causes a little bit of a kink in the hose. So as the power, the light, the prana energy, whatever you call it, travels through the pillar of light inside you, when you're doing one of these or some kind of other postural thing that causes there to be a kink in the power, and the power doesn't flow freely through you. And because of that, you're not able to communicate that power as easily with other people outside, because when your light shines bright, then when you're projecting, when you're communicating, that comes out properly. but when you're still having hangups and insecurities and you're thinking about what your mom said to you when you were 7, when you're trying to convey your very important message, that can hold you up, or that can stop people from understanding what you're trying to tell them, because they'll be focused on the incongruence as opposed to the actual message. So if you clean up the messages from your body and you're able to command presence in a way that shines your light brightly, and not be hung up on the things that your external parents did when you were a child. And so how can you do that? How can you make sure that you can be comfortable on stage? How can you be sure that you can really stand in your power when you're in front of people and not feel embarrassed, ashamed, uncomfortable, not feeling their eyes on you? Well, the one way to do it is to get rid of all of that negative programming or negative parenting that you might have received as a child, and really install the inner mother and inner father. And I know that the internal family system psychology technique includes a bunch of people inside you. But when I figured out that inner mother and father was before I even knew about that work. And the way I saw it is that every single person has a right side, which is the inner masculine, and a left side, which is the inner feminine. And both those sides are like fully adult, full-fledged adult humans, right? If you're an adult. Or so the masculine side is the analytical, the doing, the action-oriented, the masculine, the power, your powerful, standing up for yourself side, versus the feminine side is the receiving, the feeling, the experiencing. And we all have both of those sides inside us. It's just that the feminine or the masculine might be weaker or stronger depending on how, which wolf you feed. You've all heard that story, I'm sure. So just understanding that there's a balance to be had in your inner masculine and your inner feminine. And then inner child, the inner child lives right here. What's on my shirt? The inner child lives right here between the throat chakra and the heart chakra. So exactly halfway, there is a little bony protrusion right there. And you can feel it. You can touch your own and you can see, how does it feel? Like, does it feel like it's sticking out of your chest, or does it feel pretty flat with your chest? And so what we will notice is that often when this bony protrusion is very much out of your chest, that's when somebody was reaching out for love at a very young age, or trying to get more attention from the parents. And, with that comes giving energy. If you're trying to reach and yearn for energy from the adults in your life as a child, then you might find ways to give them energy so that they would pay attention to you, to be a good girl, to get good grades, to do things that they care about and you don't necessarily care about. And this is where the magic of becoming your own parent comes in, because when you, unlike your own external parents, your external parents might have been good parents. They taught you how to tie shoes. They taught you how to button up your shirt. Those are very important skills, and you probably wouldn't be able to survive without them. But your inner parents, after you're 20, your inner parents can take over. And then what happens is that internal parent will have all the abilities, all the proclivities, all the talents, all the tastes, this exactly same as you, except for they're the adult aspect of yourself that can advise and guide you along the way. And same with the inner mother, she can advise and guide you along the way and explain certain things to you in a way that would make more sense to you than the external mother. And once you have that tribe, there's 3 people working together, really working together well, you're creating what I call your inner kindergarten, where the inner mother and the inner father take control or take charge of what's happening inside in your body. They don't no longer allow you to talk meanly to yourself. And the one good filter about whether you're speaking meanly to yourself is if you wouldn't say it to a 4-year-old, to a physical, real 4-year-old child, if that sentence would not be appropriate for a 4-year-old, it wouldn't be appropriate for you right now. So really filter that through your mind. The every time you speak to yourself, if you're wondering, if you're guessing, yeah, maybe, is this right? Is this wrong? No, if it's right, it's going to be appropriate no matter how young the person is that you're speaking to, because then it's encouraging and loving and caring. And that's how you should speak to yourself, is by being encouraging and loving and caring. So then the kindergarten comes in, and so the inner child, so if the inner parents, the mother and the father, take real good or serious responsibility for the child, they will create a perfect growing environment, like a petri dish for this child, making sure that all of the child's needs are taken care of. So that means whether their artistic abilities are being nurtured, whether their business acumen is they're getting their education, they're learning the things that they need in order to follow through on their dreams and goals, whether they're spending too much time doing silly things and playing, but also so that they have enough time to play, because it's really important to balance those things out and have the play and have the work and have the pleasures and have the discipline. All of those things need to be balanced in a way that makes sense for you as a human being, and no one else. You can check other diets as well. You can check books, you can check videos, but in reality, the only person who knows how to feed and take care of you is you. And the only person who knows how you react to certain foods and what works for you is you. So when we are deferring our authority, our self-responsibility to teachers, to lawyers, to doctors, to people external of ourselves, then we're not how do I say this? Oh my goodness, I can't speak right now. We're not exercising the power over ourselves, right? So think about in which ways you're habitually still referring to other people, like as if they're the ones who have to guide you in life. And as a freedom fighter, and we're all freedom fighters in this group, it behooves us to bring that power into ourselves. And then, I might as well go into this chapter. This is another chapter of the little handout today. And once you really combine the three persons inside you, once you have that peace inside you, and the couple is no longer fighting or getting a divorce, and the child's well taken care of, then you can start sharing whatever you came here to be, who you have come here to be. You can start sharing that with the world. Sorry, I just have to move this a little bit. So creating that connection can really make a huge difference in the way you're heard when you're speaking to other people. Because as long as those insecurities and the little things that are going through your head, like, oh, are they thinking I'm like this? Are they thinking I'm like this? Are they judging me? Are they thinking these thoughts or that thoughts? As long as all of that is going on in your head, you don't have the space to create a real human connection, to really be curious about the other person, because you're so worried about them judging you. And I can tell you right off the bat that 50% of the people you meet won't like you. So that's not a problem. It's not a problem if people don't like you. We were conditioned in schools and in these other programming sessions that people have to like you, and you have to be nice to people. You have to be kind to people. It would not be a good idea to torture small animals, but you don't actually have to be liked by everybody that you meet. I wanted to show you guys this diagram here. Let me see if I share. There we go. So there are two manuals today. One is the manual that I made, and the second one that I included is the one that Carol made a long time ago. It was a handout on her website. And this is from that. And you have the whole thing, so you can review it. We'll talk about it a little bit more today. So when you have your feet, we were talking about looking at two people who are sitting next to each other and how their bodies are relating to each other. But you can do that. You can do that also when you are looking down at your feet. So if your feet, when you stand up, just relaxedly stand up, when your feet are pointing in two different directions, that means you're losing energy. Energy is flowing out of your body, and you're not it's not like a feedback loop. It's not coming back to you. It's really, you're losing more than you're gaining. And then in the second position, pigeon-toed, to the feet put together, the toes put together, like they're closing off the energy coming into your body. Then that's holding back your energy, not sharing the energy, like stagnation or protection, being afraid of sharing energy with others. And then we can have, the masculine and the feminine come in here, because we can have one foot splayed out one way or one foot splayed out the other. And then, of course, the ideal foot position is this. So right now, why don't we do a little exercise, and you guys all stand up, just like shake your body off and look down at your feet and tell me, what are your feet like? Or if you want to, you don't have to. I won't hold your feet to the fire. But tell me what your feet are like. Are your feet straight? Are they open? Are they closed? What's going on?
Parallel.
Parallel.
Yeah.
That's very good.
I used to be like like outside.
Splayed.
Yes, split. Like ducks.
Mhm.
But somehow I just made it work now. I walk straight. I walk very straight. I don't know. Just
Well, you also used to
different.
give a lot of energy to your family and not keep enough
Oof,
for yourself,
true.
right? And that's when your feet were like that.
Yes,
Ex-
definitely.
Excuse me, Celia. A duck, please. A turnout, a turnout like a dancer. I have that.
So you have that too, Renee? Your feet are
Yeah, I have a
straight
natural
up.
turnout. It was just from ballet, and that's just part of yeah. I have to be very conscious to bring him and be parallel.
Yeah, but think about what they're doing in ballet, like all those things. Earlier someone said that in military, they make you have your heels touching and your feet spread out. In both in ballet and in the military, it's very important to follow orders, right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
giving your energy away to others, giving the leadership away to others, that's exactly how they would want you to stand. So that really makes sense,
Yeah.
Anybody else want to share about their feet?
Hey, it's Bridget. My right foot tilts out. The left one is straight ahead.
Okay, so if your right foot splays out, that means that you're on your masculine side, which is like the analytical. Goodness, I can't get words in today. The analytical side, the doing side, the action side. And if your foot is splayed out, that would mean that on the level of maybe smarts, like what you're doing, your career, or how to do certain things, you defer to other people. You allow other people to make decisions for you. And you're sort of sharing more of that than like allowing other people's energy to mix with your doing side. Does that make sense, Bridget?
Yeah, sorry, my kids are talking to me at the same time. That makes sense.
Nice.
Thanks. What?
Anybody else? All right. I wanted to show you guys something else. So this is from the manual that I made. Let me just get to the right page. We talked about that. I'm going to show you Guy, and we're going to analyze him together, okay? But I have to make him a little smaller so we can see his whole body. Okay. I want to know what you guys think about this dude. So what do we have here? Does anybody want to explain what's going on with this guy? What do you think?
Muscle bound.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a huge layer of protection, right?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You said that muscle is protection.
And they don't look soft and supple like, say, in the statue of David. They look very hard and rigid, like armoring.
And his lower legs look like a totally different person. They're so small.
I was just going to bring your attention to that, because what happens is your ankles are solar plexus, so ego and identity, but like how you stand in it, right? And then right above the ankle, between the ankle and the bottom of the knee, so the knees are also solar plexus, but between the ankle and the bottom of the knee, it's sacral. But that part of the body actually tells us about how this person was treated when they were growing up as a child, similarly to what's happening with the ear. So here what we see is that this person had a lot of neglect in childhood. Maybe there was not enough time to take care of him. Maybe he comes from a large family and the mother was distracted. Maybe there was a lot of things going on. Maybe the mother had really deep postpartum depression that lasted for a long time, because it seems like that neglect didn't just happen in early childhood. It's going all the way up his calf. So his childhood wasn't very they weren't very caring to him during his childhood, from the way that his legs look. But then the rest of his body is very, very armored. But the other thing that goes with the weak ankles and lower calves is the big hole right where his heart is. You see the big hollow there? And then he's got another hollow in the bottom of his throat. So when there's a hole in any chakra, that would be like an energy drain, where the energy is running out, as if you had a hole in a boat, right? And you're taking on water, or maybe the opposite. Maybe like if you had a hole in your breathing apparatus underwater and the air was leaking out, maybe that's more appropriate. But so if he has a hole in his chest and he also has a hole in his throat, and so when messages or information or energy comes up from his lower chakras and wants to be expressed through the love of his heart and his throat. And as you guys know earlier, the throat is both the arms and the voice. So you can express yourself through the voice, so you can express yourself through doing with your fingers. Notice his fingers, his fists are very tightly closed. And then his throat has that big hollow where the energy would leak out before he even said it. And even if he could say something, his lips are so tightly closed that it wouldn't happen anyway, because he's got so many blockages from his expression all throughout the body. He's not feeling that he's safe to speak to you. He was hurt on the heart level, probably at a very, very early age, and he doesn't feel safe. So even though this is a fancy bodybuilder, he is not feeling as powerful as it seems.
Yeah, if he were a tree and some little wind touched him, he would totally fall over, because those ankles are like twigs compared to the rest of his body.
Yeah.
He's not grounded at all.
Yeah, but the grounding comes from childhood, right? Comes from care and attention.
Right.
And that care and attention is the nurturing that maybe he can't grow his ankles back, but he can make his hole in his heart feel better by installing the inner parents. And this is a scary lady. This is a gift from me to you guys. What do you think of the scary lady? What do you think, Renee? What do you think about the gap between her thighs?
I mean, it is just like, wow.
I mean, it's probably Photoshop, but let's consider that it's real,
Yeah, no, that's wow.
So if a woman with displaced hips like that existed, she would be losing all of her sexual and like sensual, creative energy right through that big, huge gap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if so, upper legs, when you think about the upper legs, the inner thighs, just the inside of the inner thighs is sacral, but the outside and the buttocks is base. So base is about safety, security, how you make your money, how you put a roof over your head, that kind of thing. And then sacral is how you express yourself creatively. But this lady is expressing herself creatively in a way that's making her lose a lot of energy, as evidenced by her body.
Well, I think she's angry about losing her sexuality. I mean, good grief. I mean, I'd hate to run into her in a dark alley.
True. Like if you look at her lips, she's very expressive, but they're not very wide. So there is some tightening of the lips on the width, right? They're kind of narrow. They're big top to bottom, but they're not super wide. They're not as wide as they're not as wide, and they're not taking up as much space in her face as you would think from the height of them.
Yeah, she's angry, that's for sure.
She's a little scary. But yeah, so that's another way of managing energy in your body. And I guess we can might as well go through this book. Anyway, go to the beginning. This is Carol's lead magnet from from one of her free offers. And of course, she told me I'm allowed to use it. I made it 15 years ago when I was young and didn't know what I was doing. But so here we have a few different ways. And like I said, next week, we're going deeper into the chakras. But this week, we can just take a look at some examples of different chakra blockages. So now we have this dude here, and his hips are cocked. So he's tucking in. No, it's tail tucked in. Sorry, I used the wrong word. These are cocked hips here. The lady in the black dress, she's got her hips cocked, like she's holding out back her energy, so sexual, sensual, creative energy, but she could let go and shoot it out at any time. Versus these guys here, the man this on the left hand side, and the lady in the white top, and the lady in the bathing suit, they all have their tail tucked in. So if you think about it, when it comes to making money, because this is the base chakra we're talking about. So if you think about it, when it comes to making money, the energy is just not there. It's just falling out their bum. There is not enough base. There's not enough flesh. There's not enough substance to sit in for that to be, a successful or well-moneyed bum. Also could mean that she's allowing a lot of other people to make money for her or make decisions for her and things like that. Same with the dude, he might be in some dead-end job, in the government job, the 30th year, yearning for his 50-cent raise, another one in 3 years, that kind of thing. So that might be just like dejected by life. And if you look at this, the left-hand side guy, the cartoon guy on the left-hand side, his hose is kinked a couple of times, because not only does he have his tail tucked in here, but he also has this neck thing going on where his energy would go up and up and up, and then there's a kink in his neck where his head is pushing forward. And then we have the same dude, but in a different position. This is more like, this is the position I've seen a lot in the classes in Canada. Like, I don't know, maybe it changes by countries or whatever, but there were a lot of people, men and women, who had the green posture, the cartoon guy on green posture, where his head is kinked to the front, to the forward, pulling forward. And there is this big, huge indent in the back of his, like in the small of his spine. So the small of his spine indent, that indent shows that you're pushing yourself forward. Like, what more can I do for you? I need to do more for other people, but you're not doing stuff for yourself. So, and then, the hips are again cocked, so holding back energy. So there's a lot of kink in that posture. This person may be self-sacrificing and doing a lot for their family and really, really, working hard to support their family, but they have forgotten that themselves also needs care, just like somebody else, just like the family. You guys have this manual already and will be sent in the email. So if I'm skipping past too fast, you can always read those comments or those blurbs there later. It's definitely there. So here we have the sacral level blockages. Now, one of these three people in the top picture is definitely pregnant, maybe even two of them. But the third one, I suspect, is a dude. But the sacral is what births a baby. So when you have a big blockage in your sacral, it means you're pregnant. You may be pregnant with a baby, like the middle lady, or you may be pregnant with an idea, a book, maybe a song, something that you're creating, that you're putting out. So any kind of blockage or any kind of flesh that's like in the sacral might mean that you're needing to like release more energy. You have energy stored in your body and you're releasing it into the world. And then here we have a lack of flesh in the sacral. So whereas extra flesh, like these chubby ladies, the extra flesh, that has a meaning. That means that, you know, there is a blockage, energetic blockage. Actually, the two fatter ladies, their blockage looks like emotional damage, essentially, because they're a lot of the time when a person has a deep hurt that they're not able to deal with, not able to talk about, they don't, you know, they don't address it, they put a layer of fat over it. So these ladies might have some emotional issues that they're not dealing with. But the really, really skinny lady also has emotional issues because her energy is flowing, like that would be, you know, wind energy kind of thing in her, where nothing is sticking to her ribs, nothing is sticking. So the energy, so it'd be really hard to shine your light or express yourself when there isn't enough energy going on, where everything, essentially what this type of body means is that this person doesn't really live in their body. They're not aware or in touch, in contact with their actual body. They're living in the higher chakras above the seventh chakra. So they're always in the fantasy world, building castles in the sky and all that, and not really inhabiting their body. And here we have some tightness, some hard muscles all in the belly. That would also be considered a type of a blockage because, you know, she may be slim and everything is looking good, but there is still a very kind of bony or hard quality to her solar plexus. I would say that she's holding her energy back. Also, that big dent in the center of her body, you know, dividing the feminine and the masculine, that probably has a meaning as well. In you know, if we were to look at her whole body, we would have more information. This brochure is not to read this particular person and all their issues. It's to demonstrate certain way that certain blockages might look. So we don't know her story. We don't know who she is. We don't see her feet. We don't see her face. But there is a certain level of blockage and tightness in the pelvis. And so that would mean that it would be hard for her to express her creativity and her talents and share her light. So solar plexus, the solar plexus. So if you think about it, this is the solar plexus, right? So it's just below the heart and just below that, maybe it's a little bit lower than what I just drew. Maybe it's like this. But this is the part, so I guess it depends on the person and how much it would, but you would see, like on your body, you can see the difference. There's probably, often people have a different skin quality in different chakras. There's a way to tell which each chakra is, usually, sometimes there isn't. But solar plexus is ego identity, how you stand up in the world, who you are, where you're coming from, and things like that. So when you have solar plexus blockages, they're not the sacral blockages, they're a little bit higher. And of course, solar plexus also governs ankles, elbows, and knees. So here you can see some solar plexus blockages that are not in the central chakra system in the body. All right, and then we come to the heart. So now we see a very exaggerated hollow in the heart in the middle gentleman here, just like that bodybuilder from my other manual had a hollow in his heart. This dude has a hollow in his heart. The lady on the right has a lot of like missing heart energy. Like even if you look at the flesh, it doesn't look like, it looks kind of like it's hanging on her body. She's not fully engaging emotionally in her body. Again, that would be somebody who's not really occupying their body, not fully present. Same with the lady below her. The dude on the left, well, where you talked about the other dude with a similar hard body, you know, they're trying to take up as much as often these guys are have been abused as a child, like the ones that have to be super, super big. And again, not every man who is super, super big means that he has a blockage. You know, some of them have energy that flows easily and they don't have any blockages. But if it's hard and he's trying to take up all this room and you know, that shows protection, and that shows that the inner child's very hurt, that someone hurt it, and it's not safe to come out, so it's have to be hidden behind this big wall. And then we have some slack energy with this guy at the cross. There's some slack energy in the heart chakra. Everything is kind of drooping there. So you can see how their energy in the specific chakra is not really there. And then again, this person here, it is a man, has extra flesh in the heart chakra. So covering old hurts, covering when people didn't accept him or didn't understand him or didn't receive him well. And then the heart chakra is also the upper arms here between the shoulder bone and the elbow being solar plexus. And so here we can see that as well. And then we come to the throat chakra. So there's a throat chakra blockage, like in these three guys. And there's a throat chakra drainage, like in these two ladies. And of course, I had to throw in the Little Mermaid there because that's exactly what's happening to these ladies. When it's the energy is being sucked out of your throat before you can even express it. And then we have a few other things in this manual. You can certainly check it out. Top and bottom imbalance, and the standing we already covered. Now the one more thing, the abundance is something that Carol teaches to every single class, no matter if it's like a free class or a 3-day class or a 10-day psychosomatic class. Abundance is something we do a lot in classes. It's definitely worth learning because it releases a lot of the energy around the sacral, the pelvis, the base chakra. And once you do that dance a little bit, it really helps to realign and even release some of the tension from the lower spine around the tailbone. So here we're talking about the abundance, but there's one more section. Hang on. I'll show you something cool. Okay, so we talked about the guy at the computer who pushes his head forward, wants to be ahead of his neighbors, is playing the game of comparison. The game of comparison is probably the most dangerous game in our society because it's not something that was ever meant to be. It's completely unnatural. Humans should never be comparing each other to each other. Every human is unique and individual, and every human is a value, an essence that we definitely need to have in ourselves and in our society. Your essence is absolutely necessary for this world to move forward and to be whatever the world is becoming. And there was one more chapter I wanted to show you. So when even though this person on the left, their spine is curved in the correct way, when they're pushing their head forward, like sitting at the computer or thinking about competing with the neighbors or something like that, when they push their head forward only a little bit, it gives the strain on the neck is 32 pounds. But if the head, because the head is very heavy, right? But if the head is ahead of the body, like it was in some of those other guys, it's actually a huge weight. And that's why so many people have shoulder problems and neck problems in our society. And I think that's it for this manual. What else do we have in this manual? There's a little exercise on how to stand up straight. This would be the ideal neutral position where, where you align your spiritual finger, which is the middle finger in your hand, with the seam of your pants. Roll your shoulders back a few times in order to align everything one above the other. And that would be the neutral standing position. So outside of that, everything is like a message or whatever. And even inside of that, there are a lot of messages, if you know how to read it. So everything, I guess I can stop sharing. Everything in our bodies is like it's like a full circle, right? So if you want to change something, say you want to change that your feet are splayed out. You can change it by physically straightening your feet and working on your hips, doing abundance, paying attention to your feet every time you stop. Like you stop at the cash register, you can look down at your feet, straighten them. You stop at the line up to the bank machine, you look down at your feet, straighten them. It's a game you can play with yourself. But then there are other ways you can address it with herbs. What herbs make you bring your energy back towards yourself and not give so much energy to others? So you can think about which herbs would strengthen that. You can help it with rocks. You can help it with cognitive help, like telling yourself, you know what, no, we don't need to listen to those people. We don't need to go to that party. We don't need to obey whatever somebody said. I have my own power inside me. Nobody can mess with my power. Just reminding yourself that you are all powerful within you, and there's no need. No one can ingress on your energy unless you allow them to do it. And how do you allow them to do it? Well, one way of allowing them to do it is to just think it's possible. If you create a really strong center, the people who prey, other people or entities or whatever who prey on your weakness won't have a foothold, because you will be in your own power. And as long as you're in your own power, your vibration is high, your vibration is high, you can't even hear all the messages coming at you from the outside. I think that's it for me soapboxing. Do you guys have questions? I shocked everyone into silence.
Could you talk about the walking a little bit? I know that is not a body position, but it was in that manual.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have that manual in the chat, by the way, TJ.
Great, thank you.
But the walking, let me get my friend the moose here. He came with my phone. So what happens is when you splay your foot, right? And I know this sounds like it's not actually addressing your question, TJ, but it will. So just bear with me. So when you're standing there and you splay your foot out, right? Then this side of your knee, the tendon shortens, and this side it lengthens, right? And then if you do that for many years, then it starts affecting the hip. This side of the hip tendons shorten, and this side of the hip tendons lengthen as you splay that leg in an unnatural position. And so the way it affects walking is that if your feet are out of position and then you're walking, you are actually wearing down your body in an unnatural way. If your feet are pointing forward and your hips are in line with your feet and your knees are in line with your hips and everything is lined up, and you're walking in a posture that's, your shoulders are back, your head is straight, you're meeting the world with your heart chakra, not with your nose. All of these things are aligned. You don't wear out your body as much. Even standing with like on one leg with the hips off a little bit all the time can actually mess with your hips and your alignment. So checking back with your body, and every time you have a symptom like a sore hip or something, going back and thinking, how can you correct that alignment? How can you sit better? How can you put a better footstool at your desk so that everything is lined up? Does that answer your walking question? Or did you mean the exercise?
Yeah, no, that does. And it brought up another question. When you're trying to correct this, I mean, you're physically changing your posture is one of the things you just mentioned correcting. And but then you also could do the inner work if you knew what that meant. So is there like a, a better way, not better, but which one's more powerful?
It's like a closed circuit loop. Everything is in the loop, like food and aromatherapy and exercise and self-talk and cognitive therapy and learning about what it means. All of these things are in a circle, and basically the whole circle helps you. It's not like one thing or the other. The one thing that's the most dangerous is putting your power in other people's hands. Oh, I see. Agnieszka said I have this imbalance. I'm going to go get a masseuse to fix me. You can get the masseuse to help you fix yourself, but you can't get a masseuse to fix you unless you're fully engaged in your own healing. Same with a chiropractor or anybody else, because those people are just external people. They're there to help you and assist you, but they're not going to be able to fix you, because your fixing needs to be up here and in listening to your body and really interacting with what you need.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Agnieszka. Okay, so you showed those people with like a picture of with people of no ass. I also have that, and I have really tight hip flexors, and I wonder like if there's something I'm not expressing correctly, or like how do you, yeah, so hip flexor, what part of the chakra is that?
So that's the base chakra.
Base chakra.
So
Okay.
that's whether you feel safe and secure. So the thing is with safety and security, especially with freedom fighters like ourselves, is that we might be overly focusing on the insecurity of the world. Oh, the world's going to shit in a handbasket, the end of the world, the sky is falling and all that. It may not even mean that you're not making money in your actual physicality. It might mean that even though you're making money, you're feeling insecure about it. You're feeling like it's gonna fall apart any minute, that kind of thing. You're not feeling safety. But where is that feeling coming from? Because there are certain people that can feel safe in a hurricane, that can feel safe in, the apocalypse happened, and they're like, well, we're still here, so we're good. Everything is good. So where are you not feeling safe? Why are you not feeling safe in where you're at right now? Even though it's up to you to make yourself feel safe. These are habits we have from childhood when we were feeling unsafe. Our parents maybe didn't meet, maybe our parents were competing with us. We weren't feeling safe at home because our brothers and our friends, everybody seemed like they were trying to one up and show off and put you down. And, like these kind of safety things that didn't happen in childhood. And then you're perpetuating that kind of idea in your head throughout your adult life. So essentially in your own head, you're bullying and putting yourself down, which causes the same lack of safety feeling in your body.
Thank you.
And the exercise in Carol's manual, the abundance exercise, would definitely release hip flexors and help you grow a nice bum. Like making better money or making yourself feel better about money and about safety and about roof over your head, that's half of the equation. And then working the muscles is the other half of the equation.
Thank you for the input.
You're welcome, Travis. Anybody else?
So what about so you said the lady with the legs that were spread apart she was losing a lot of energy? What if they're like really pushed together? What does that mean?
Holding back a lot of energy, being afraid of releasing the energy. Sorry.
Dogs.
Because if I talk while he's barking, you guys can hear him bark. So I was like, But yes, so that means that you're not feeling secure in sharing your sacral energy with other people, you know, like or maybe with the world, like as in something that you're creating, or your inner sensuality, sexuality, you have some hang-ups, you don't want to, you know, maybe somebody hurt you in the past in that kind of way, and so you're like a little bit extra protection in that area.
That makes sense. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, my dear. Anybody else?
Only a comment that I
Go for
love
it.
this. Yeah, because it just goes along, with my thoughts or what we know is true. The body speaks. And if we can just pay attention, we can just change so much and thrive. If we're just, if we just pay attention.
Yeah, and pay attention to yourself, because like in as much as face reading and body reading is about reading other people, reading politicians, you know, reading your enemies, it's more than that. It's reading about yourself and who you really are. What changes your face, what changes your body, what changes the way you stand, what changes those blockages is how you look at yourself, nothing to do with other people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So when people do Botox, it's like they're freezing themselves.
Botox is the craziest thing ever.
Or anything that involves, I don't know,
No, but like
yeah.
Botox is specifically, Celia, because it's actual poison or something that's really not good for you, and it's being injected into your body. And then what it does, it's like a lot of people will Botox these lines, right? But these are focus lines. These are, energy flows from your lower chakras to your mind. And these lines sometimes help, sometimes hinder, depending on how the lines are. But if you freeze it, there ain't no flow, you know.
Agni, I had a question. This is Bridget. Last week I missed, did you talk about facial asymmetries or different things with the face last week?
Not really. We're going to talk about that more on January 8th.
Oh, okay.
I talked about the recording went out. You should have gotten an email. Are you on the email list?
I don't think so. I didn't get an email. I just clicked on the
So
Zoom link.
I can tell you, you want to get the email?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really easy. If you
Okay.
go to my website, I can
Uh-huh.
even put my website in there, and then fill out the interested in free classes form. What
Okay.
happens is within an hour, all the replays come to your inbox with the manuals and everything.
Oh, okay. I do remember you saying that the first session.
Yeah, I can throw the link in there. Because
Thank-
otherwise, you're not getting the replay. And well, I guess you're getting the manual if you collect them, but not for last week.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize that I had missed two. I thought I had missed, I didn't think you were going to have a class on Thanksgiving.
Well, you see, I'm a maverick like that.
Please, yeah, do put that link up there so
Okay,
that
let
I
me
can.
see here.
Well, you're in Mexico. In Mexico, they don't celebrate. So,
And I'm Polish, so I didn't even
so
celebrate that before.
exactly.
Like an American thing. I don't know.
I
But there
know,
were people there. There were like 12 people there in both classes, so or maybe 10. But yeah, there were people there.
when I lived in San Miguel, it was a big to do. I mean, there was such a large American population that, oh, yeah, there was a big event. Thanksgiving and, yeah, all the American holidays were celebrated.
Nice. So
Okay, here's the link.
I threw the link directly to the sign up form and just put your email in that form. And within an hour, because I had to do a delay timer after the confirmation email, all the replays come into your inbox.
Awesome, thank you.
So probably all at once. You're gonna get like 4 emails.
Agni, didn't you say at some point that you were going to share your before and after, like your own changes at some point? I don't know when.
January 8th.
Just waiting
You gotta wait till after
for the
Christmas.
before and after Agnieszka.
Well, and that lady that I put in the face reading manual, the big blue eyes, I'm going to show her before and afters as well. So for both of us, you can see before and after.
Whoa.
And she was very happy that I was using her photo for this class. So
Cool.
Well, I'm still delighted about the photo you sent me when you were a little girl. Yes, since I do so much work with the inner child and the little girl, she was perfectly matched with my vision.
perfect.
Yeah.
I should put that photo of me as a little girl as my profile photo on Facebook for my birthday.
Yeah, it's really cute. It's just so you.
Nice. I feel like I talked longer in the earlier class, but there were more questions. Maybe you guys will have to watch both the replays.
Well, I was gonna say I've been watching both the replays, and it's like I don't know, it's kind of crazy how it can be the same class, but it can be so different at the same time. So it would be worth it. But I know one of the replays I was watching, you were talking about like the widow's peak. And I seem to remember when I was a kid having like a way, way more severe one. And now it's just like a little one. So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, so as your consciousness, because the widow's peak is essentially similar to that big line on the stomach that the lady had, it's like a division between the masculine and the feminine. And so the inner mother or inner man and inner woman, they're fighting with each other, they're asking for divorce, and there's like, we should do this. No, we should do this. No, I want to do this. No, you'll never be able to do that. Are you crazy? Nobody's ever done that before. That's just insane. I couldn't do that, so you couldn't do that. And things like that kind of back and forth. That's what the widow's peak, often the split in the chin, that can also be that kind of back and forth as well.
Mm. Yeah, it's just wild because, like, I guess listening to you talk about how it changes, and it's like that's not just, and necessarily like environmental or just getting older and stuff. It's actually like changes on the inside. I don't know. It's just interesting to think about.
See, I'm really tempted to share my before and after now, but I probably should withhold it because I didn't share it with the other class and it wouldn't be fair.
Oh, share it.
But what's wrong with January 8th? I think you guys can wait. It wouldn't, I don't know. I'm trying to make them the same. See, the thing is, it doesn't work like that because I am moved to say different things at different times. And even though the manual is the same, I get like these inspirations that I should talk about certain things, and it usually fits for the people in that particular class. But of course, it's also interesting, to you as well. But like, I don't know, I don't control it. It just flows. That's why I don't do really pre-recorded classes. All my classes are live because I think they're just so much better that way.
No, well, it's funny because I never noticed that until you said that, but I used to have a really much further down widow's peak than I do now as well as an adult.
So
Yeah,
less self-help.
I never noticed it like, well, like I remember having it more severe, but like, yeah, it really didn't ever thought about it until she like pointed it out.
Agni, do you know of any reason or blockage for having your left earlobe have like a crease in it now?
Where?
The earlobe on my left ear.
But like down below here or
Yeah, like in the fat part, the down below part.
I'll have to think about it.
I had read somewhere that it could mean cardiac issues, but like for Chinese medicine.
That's like slightly different than what we would do.
Mm-hmm.
But can I see, you don't want to do video today?
Oh no, everybody's around, and
Okay, no worries.
it's just I don't know if it was the left side or the right side that the Chinese medicine talked about cardiac stuff. I just noticed that there's like a crease in my left. Next week I'll show you.
Okay, yeah, no worries, no worries.
I have it too. I have it too, Bridget. That,
Yeah, it's not something I usually had. It's just I just noticed that that's like a new thing.
yeah, and yeah, I've read the same thing that it has to do with cardiac issues, but eh, that's all I know.
That's like weird that you say that because both my parents have had heart attacks and they both have it. Like, so like, because my mom had mentioned it to me, but like, I thought I might have one too, but I haven't had one. So I don't know. But they both have one and they both did have heart attacks. So I don't know what that means.
Interesting. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. I would have to look in the manual on the ear section and like really study that section for like what would it mean, you know?
Thanks.
Yeah, no,
I've got to go get the kids to bed. So thank you, Agni. It was wonderful listening to you. Good night, everybody.
you're most welcome. So Marshall just pasted a picture in the chat and he's asking about the hairline where it's like taking up her forehead. And so if you look at this lady's face, she's a model of some sort or what?
I think she's an actress.
Yeah, Anna Kendrick. Notice
So
her
she
hairline.
has, I don't know
It's
very much
pretty.
about these actor people, but she has a very triangular chin, so very, you know, susceptible to suggestions from outside. And then her hair is going down on her forehead, so that would show like narrow-mindedness. Carol, if she met her, she would suggest that she wax her forehead to give her a little bit more of an open mind. And you know, a lot of the time when they were talking about the hairs growing into the forehead like that, it meant all the thoughts, like habitual thought patterns that they've picked up from other people. Like I myself had a lot more going on my forehead on the sides here, which in Carol's or in Herman's book is called the taper quarters. So right here on the temple, there is like a place where a lot of often people have like hair going in a triangle into the face, this side as well. So I have a little bit left, but I used to have a lot more of it. And Carol did wax it a couple times. And those are taper quarters from like having my father's or my mother's voice in my head, as opposed to listening to my own voice. So I've since replaced all the voices that were going on in my head. You know, you should do this, you should be like this, with just my own guidance and directions. But this lady would be very much controlled by, you know, rules, regulations, mores, you know, she's very like, and that paired with a very, very weak and narrow chin, right? That just shows that she's very susceptible to suggestion. She's very susceptible to people telling her what to do. She may be narrow-minded and quite focused, but you know, she's willing to follow the rules, even though her cheeks are very solar plexus, so she's very career oriented. Her solar plexus is very sharp, you know, the nose is sharp, the cheeks are very sharp. So like her she would be very dedicated to success, whatever that means for her. But maybe that's why she's in a career where everybody tells her what to do, and not in a career where she tells other people what to do.
Yeah, she's a great actor. What about this? What about the unibrow? I used to have to pluck the damn thing not to be embarrassed in high school, but now it's totally gone.
So the
Instead of couch
unibrow is like
eyebrow.
a pressure cooker. So that means you have a lot of like angry energy in your heart and it's not being released correctly. So that would mean that, you know, every now and then you might blow your top and start like taking your anger out on other people. But then in between time, you would keep a lid on it. It's like the lid that you would keep on it, you know? And then if you plaque it, then the energy flows better and you're able to express what you want to express as you go, as opposed to holding back and then exploding on other people.
Oh my God, that totally tracks. Totally angry at my family. I started plucking it in high school, and then I started calling them out on their bullshit. Yeah. Wow.
This stuff really works. I know it sounds really weird, but it works. I was very skeptical at first too. Any other questions? Or should we stop the recording? Now, what I can do, and I talked to another lady that was here, Carol, I think, and she was saying that she's not really comfortable with certain questions while we're recording. So after we record, you don't have to leave. We can stay for a few minutes more and ask whatever more private questions that won't be put up on YouTube and recorded, you know. So to answer Noel's question from the chat, waxing helps, but shaving doesn't. So apparently for the psychosomatic impact of it to be real, we rip the hair out with the roots and it hurts and you feel it. And that's part of it, as opposed to just shaving it and for it to grow back. So once you rip the hair out by the root with wax strips a few times, it no longer grows back. It didn't for me. But yeah, shaving it is not the same.
Reason about laser hair removal.
I don't know. See, the thing with self-healing is that if you go to somebody else, like, I mean, yeah, sure, you can have laser hair removal, but I don't know how much it would work. But if you actually take tweezers and rip it out, you're actually doing the action. And it actually, like, it's the feedback loop we were talking about, the brain, you know, that it signals to your body you're done with that kind of energy. I don't know, maybe it's because laser hair removal creeps me out. I could be personal bias, honestly. Because as long as the hair is ripped out by the roots, it should be fine. And the other thing that I should mention is that as we get older and our hair has like white throughout it, that's not something to be covered up with paint. That's actually wisdom and, you know, better energies coming through your body. So with our youth obsessed society, where we're always trying to, you know, freeze this and paint this and add some eyelashes and things like that. That's not necessarily what the healthiest thing for you is and best thing for you. Because if you keep your lines in your face and they allow for the flow of energy, if you keep your hair the way it is, and actually for many years, I dyed my hair, but I look a lot better with my natural hair color, but I always thought I didn't. And I always had like really blonde hair most of my life, but not like really, really blonde, but like golden blonde versus this is like brown and it actually looks better on me. So a lot of the time we're allowing the society to make these decisions for us, but in reality, what nature gave us is the best anyway. This silence means I'm going to stop the recording, okay? Thank you very much for everybody who listens to the replay. And